Hey, 8th grade, this is Mr. James. Hope you are having a great day. It is test week, so on Monday, I posted a link to the video and I posted our study guide. Please just make sure that you watch the video first by itself. Number two, you watch it several more times, but you work on that study guide while you watch it. Posted a video about all of this. After you've completed the study guide, go ahead and double check your answers. And then number four, take the test when you're prepared. And when you take the test, you can use your study guide. You can watch the video while you take it, whatever you need to help you during the test. And take your time. Don't rush. This is just going to be a quick lesson review over the last 10 lessons that we've been doing. And we'll have a test in the upcoming weeks about our lessons, a little bit about each, just to see what you guys remember and how you guys are learning when it comes to everything. So our memorization, we memorized quite a bit. We first looked at Genesis 1:27. We looked at the Old Testament divisions, the New Testament divisions, 1 Peter 1:15 through 16, and Deuteronomy 6 through 5. Our first lesson was one of the bigger lessons. We looked at the Bible. The Bible is God-breathed. God breathed out the words that were written. He inspired them. From 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17. That God, the Old Testament, right, there are 5 divisions. The law, which is from creation to the start of Israel. History, which goes from the book of Joshua to Esther, which is about 1,000 years. Poetry, which is poems and songs. The major prophets, which are longer and was during Israel's kings, and the minor prophets, which, like the major prophets, are just shorter and during Israel's kings. In the New Testament, we have the Gospels, which records the story of Jesus. We have history, so how the church began. Paul's letters to the church. General letters, Peter's, others wrote letters as well to churches. And prophecy. Revelation tells about the past, the present, and the future to come. Then we looked at creation, right? In Genesis, Moses wrote Genesis. Creation starts at day 1 with light. Day 2, the sky, atmosphere. Day 3, seas, trees, and plants. Day 4, the sun, moon, and stars. 5, we have the fish, the birds. 6, we have wild animals and man, humans. Day 7, rest. Psalm 19:1 says that God created everything to declare or show his own glory. Then we saw the fall, the sin of man in Genesis. So God gives Adam and Eve the command to multiply, to have children, to be in charge of the earth, and to not eat from the forbidden tree. And what do? Adam and Eve disobey and sin. God knew from that point that he would have to send his only son to die for the sin of mankind. God chose to use Noah, and Noah obeyed by building the ark. But despite the flood, the sin of mankind is still there. God shows grace and makes a way for forgiveness by sending Jesus ultimately. And then in Genesis, we also looked at the story of Abraham. God promised Abraham his children would become a great nation in Genesis 12:2. Faith is trust. It's believing in something that you have not seen or experienced. Faith and obedience are inseparable, and God's plan is to rescue and bless his rebellious world through Abraham's family. So from Abraham's family, we can eventually trace Jesus from. That's God's plan. It's through Abraham, Jesus is able to come and bless the whole world as Jesus is for everybody. In Genesis, again, we looked at the family tree of Abraham. Abraham's family multiplied just as God had promised he would. Jacob deceives Esau. Jacob and Esau, remember the story. But Esau shows forgiveness. And from that, we see that God uses fallen people for his plan. Joseph shows his brothers grace despite their actions against him. Right? Joseph is sold into slavery. and eventually becomes in charge. And Joseph's brothers come to him begging for food during the famine, and Joseph shows grace, forgiveness, and feeds them. Kind of like how Jesus shows us forgiveness as we sin. And we looked at Exodus. So the family of Abraham now equals Israel. Family of Abraham is Israel. Pharaoh would not release the Israelites. God sent 10 plagues, which were water turning into blood, frogs, flies, cows died, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and eventually the death of the firstborn. Israelites were not affected. God kept them safe. And Passover celebrates Israel being freed from Egypt. In Exodus, after being in Egypt and after being freed, they're brought into the desert. God gave them the law to show his people that they are unable to meet God's standard for holiness, and they can't earn salvation. They need a Savior. They need Jesus. The 10 Commandments are given in Exodus 20, 1 through 17, and the tabernacle is created. Tabernacle signified God's presence among the people. It was God's home where he lived. God is everywhere now, and he made that abundantly clear, and he desires a relationship with us. He desires for us to follow him. Then in Leviticus, we see worship talked about. God helped Israel organize its worship by selecting priests. Priests would be a Levite from the tribe of Levi who spoke to God for the people and offered sacrifices. See, the word holy means to be devoted to God, set apart for a very specific purpose. Again, the key is set apart. By Jesus, we offer God now our praise and obedience, and we give to others. We no longer offer animal sacrifices, but we give praise, we are obedient, and we give to other people in Hebrews 13. And holidays are special days. They are set apart. They are, that key word again, set apart, we see the word holy day, meaning holiday, kind of like Christmas. Then in Numbers, we look at manna, the story of manna. That the book of Numbers is called Numbers because it reports the numbers of the census that Moses took. Israel disobeys God continually. They do not go into the promised land, and they end up wandering for 40 years. Israel disobeys God, but God continues to provide for them. He provides every single day by giving them manna to eat. In Philippians 2, 12 through 18, we see what a follower of Jesus is about. They are obedient, they are joyful, they do not grumble, and they do not argue. And then in Deuteronomy, otherwise known as the law repeated, Deuteronomy equals the law repeated. It means that Moses is not able to enter the promised land because he had sinned when he hit the rock. Matthew 22, 38 through 40, Deuteronomy 6:5. It points to the greatest command, which is to love God with all your soul, mind, heart, and strength. God's prophets reminded the people of God's law. Ultimately, Jesus was the greatest prophet. Jesus would be the greatest person to tell the truth and to tell what God, right? A prophet is somebody that shares a message from God. Jesus is in communion, has a perfect relationship with God, and is the true prophet, true sacrifice to communicate God's message that he loves us and that he sent Jesus to die for us. So that's our review. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'll also post a link to a fun video that you guys can watch. Have a great day, guys. Bye.